Today you're going to learn what goes into a true 7-second street car. And the best part, you only need 4 cylinders to do it.
Break it down.
So in this car we run a Honda K24 engine. It's only got 4 cylinders. It's got a pretty big turbo, a G42 1450, which means that's capable of around the 1400 horsepower mark. At the moment it's currently making 1200. Now we're not going to lie, you need horsepower. If you think you can sort of get there on 300 or 400 horsepower, it's not going to happen. So step 1, horsepower is a must. Now you got to remember there's a massive difference between having an all-out drag car and a street car that you take to the track and want to run these really fast times. This thing has gone a 782 at 178 mile an hour so far. It's going to be which fuel you decide to run. So obviously you can either run pump fuel, which is an unleaded type of fuel. You could run E85 or you could run methanol, or you could do both. So in this car we have an Alexa electric pump, and that's a little 15-litre methanol tank built by Fab Lab. That runs 4 big injectors for our methanol system. You can also see this fuel rail here, which has 4 stock Honda injectors in it. And then in the boot, we've got a 60-litre unleaded fuel tank. So we can pull up at any fuel station we want and just throw fuel in that. We get really good fuel economy, and we switch this over just by pushing one button. By having these 2 separate fuel systems, you have separate fuel rails, you have separate fuel lines, you've also got separate fuel regulators for each fuel. They are completely separate of each other. It doesn't start pumping a different fuel into the same line. They are 2 completely different systems. Now the reason we've done that is when we're towing the trailer out in the middle of Victoria, there's a lot of stations that don't have E85 available. Also the 30% more volume you use of that fuel makes filling up all the time a bit of a hassle. By going this way, we've got the safety of methanol, the cooling of methanol, but we've got the ease of when we're on the street and we're driving with the trailer on the back, we don't have to sit there searching for stations that sell E85. Another massive advantage, we can get rid of all the fuel out of the back tank when we're at the track to make it lighter. If we find that we're on a track that's a bit slippery, we can add a bit of fuel into that. With it hanging over that back axle, we can gain a fair bit of rear grip by putting weight into that tank. Another thing I've learned is nitrous. You will need it. When you have a big turbo, you may as well put the stuff on. The main reason is it picks up, it spools faster, you can bump in a lot quicker. It's easier on the transmission, you don't generate as much heat trying to get it up on the 2-step for that long. Obviously really small turbo cars, you won't need it, but obviously with small turbos comes a lot less horsepower. So bang a bit of gas on, it's only used to spool the turbo. We only spray it for about a second, that's enough for the turbo to pick up RPM and take over. Moving on from fuel systems, another thing I got extremely wrong at the beginning was the size of the intercooler I put on this car. It was way too small. When you're first building a car, make sure you go a lot bigger than what you think you're going to need. Now the most important thing that's overlooked on drag and drive cars is cooling. We need big cooling available, big radiator fans, big radiator capacity. Transmission cooling is the other big overlooked item here. So we've got a PWR cooler in the front bumper for when we're traveling along. So this cooler under the car for the transmission has a fan. It helps a lot when we're sitting in traffic, especially. The one up the front is mainly working when we are driving along. Exhaust system. I think we've got the best exhaust system out of most of the cars out there, and I'm going to say that. We've got a diverter valve, which we can open for when we're racing, but when we're driving along, we don't want to hear a drone for the next 3-4 hours while we're getting to the next destination. Now, the exhaust system isn't flash. Well, we won't say that. Leave a comment if you reckon Dan should make us a new exhaust system. When we push the button to change fuels from unleaded to methanol, this exhaust flap also opens all at the same time. Another thing I've done twice, unfortunately, on this car was with our 9-inch diff, we started with flanged axles. It was a cheap way out. Originally, we only wanted to do 9, so I was pretty happy. But as we've progressed, we've had to change to a floater. So this is where the poor man buys twice saying comes from, I think. Also, the main reason going to a floater was safety. If you watched the video where we let away a few secrets on how to do 8, you would have noticed we did not have a spool in the diff. We had a true track center in it. We've now changed to a spool. So that's another thing that's probably going to help them 60-foot times for us. Something, if you are planning on doing a lot of drag car stuff mainly, I think go straight to that from the beginning. Not as nice on the street, but you've got to compromise. Now you guys better subscribe if you want to hear the next secrets. These ones are really important ones, so make sure you click the subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell us thanks for giving away all this hard-earned secrets we're teaching you right now for free. Rear suspension geometry is a must with a drag car. Now that's the size tyre we're on, 26 inch by 8.5 inches. For you metric guys, that is a 235 60 15. That is a very small tyre. And guess what? You need to make that tyre work for you. And to do that, there's this thing called separation. Now when we talk about separation, we're talking about this gap. When you see a car leave the line, when they let go of the trans brake, you want to see that gap increase. If that gap goes the other way, it's squatting, and on a radial tyre most of the time, it's not really going to help you. Now it's times like this, we're all glad we went to school. It's quite easy. There's a calculator online, doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is put in all their measurements that they tell you, and basically you want your little dot there, that's your instant centre, to be higher than your red line there, your squat line. That's all you have to do, and there's a certain percentage you can aim for to start with as a bit of a guideline. As you get your car sorted, you can change that a little bit, but this is what makes a car consistent. This is what makes a car go down on a shit track when the other people don't. This is by far the most important thing, more than putting more boost into your car, more than doing any of that stuff. So make sure you really look into this. A lot of good videos on the net about this stuff. Get out and watch them. Don't watch me, go watch them. So once you got your 4-link in the back of your car and you've got your tape measure, you're away laughing. Come on guys, it's like 10 measurements you have to do. That is pretty easy stuff. Righto, well done. You've got your car together, you're driving it out to the track, and now you've done your first couple of passes. And you've set your car up that way, you've done a 784 and a 783 back to back. You've got a nice consistent street car, that's what you want. Now the bit that everyone gets wrong, everyone just looks at this number and they say, oh, I did a 7.8 at 178 mile an hour, yay. What we've got to go back to, start at the beginning, don't worry about your reaction time. People get that confused thinking that that's important with your ET, it's not. That doesn't mean shit. This one here is the important one, 60 foot. Focus on that. Focus on getting out of the hole and getting to that 60-foot mark. Everything you gain there, you gain at least 2 to 3 times at the end of the track. Just over 2 times we've found with this car. From there, everything else gets faster. Once you've got that as good as you can, move on to your 330. Then your 8, and the rest of the second half of the track comes naturally afterwards. So don't worry about this. This is what we did with the Integra. This is what I learned. That's where I got that wrong. All we focused on was this air number. We never looked at this stuff, and this is the key. Focus on this. The times come by themselves. So this is something Mr. 101 Motorsports has taught me, that's for sure. So all this is a boost target table by time. So as soon as you let go of the trans brake, a timer starts up here, and from there it tries to find its target boost pressure you're trying to achieve in there. Quick example, we push the play button through a log, boom, there we go. So obviously if you have too much in here, a couple of different things may happen. It may try and lift the front off the ground, or it may spin the tyres, you'll go slower. So the key is when we tune a car at the track, we're trying to get this boost ramp and everything to be as close as we can to that tyre, just hanging on and getting that car down the track. There's plenty of other ways for power management. We've kept it really simple. This is the only thing we do. We don't pull timing. We don't have traction control dialed in on the car yet. We're purely doing it off this, so it does show how well this can work on a simple setup. Now, this is going to be another boring one for some of you, but we have to talk about it. Sensors. We need to have sensors. We need NOx sensors. We need coolant temperature sensors. We need air intake temperatures. We need fuel pressure sensors. We need oil pressure sensors. We need sensors for everything. Far out, we even need 4 in the exhaust to tell us each cylinder temperature. Ah, well, we don't need that one anymore. That used to tell us the ethanol content when we used to run E85. We've got wheelie sensors. We've got transmission temperature sensors. We've got drive shaft speed sensors. Would you look at that? We've even got rear shock height sensors. Oh, front wheel speed sensors. And last but not least, coolant pressure sensors. We didn't need that to tell us that we had an issue though, did we? Whoops. Why do we need all them sensors? I'm glad you've asked. The main reason is we can monitor what stuff's doing. So we've got everything, we log everything as it goes down the track. If we have an issue with something, we can go back and check out why. Gives us a lot of feedback on what the motor's doing, helps us with tuning, can save damage to stuff. If you can get onto something a bit earlier, then at least you've got a good chance of sorting it out before it does some real destructive bad shit. Now the budget does play a big role with this stuff, we're not going to lie to you. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without the help from all these guys. So I'm lucky that we've got these guys on board. The amount of my own hours that I spend on this car are crazy. I probably spend easy 20 hours a week on this car in my own time trying to change things, look at logs, try and figure out different ways, looking up parts, doing my own research on different stuff. But the biggest thing is you do end up learning a lot, and when you learn something and you put it to practice and it does work, there's no better feeling. That's the main reason I'm doing this stuff. Obviously we've got Dan from Fab Lab driving the car. He's a great little steerer. He does a lot of the fab work on the car now, which is good, takes a bit of load off me. It's a team sport. You can't do this stuff by yourself. Some people still in their head think you can drive a car like this to the track by yourself and get it down and do all the maintenance in between rounds and live happy ever after. It just doesn't happen. You need a bit of a crew, and a good crew of people. We're also lucky with that. The guys from 101 Motorsport, Dan Fab Lab, all the mates and everything that come out and support us. Now I've got plenty more secrets up my sleeve here that I've learned from the team. I've learned a few tricks off the boys, so I don't know if they'll like me sharing them all with you, but I'm going to do it anyway. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the video around. I might do a part 2 of this if you just want to hear about it, and we'll get you guys going down the track a bit faster.
Well, that was interesting.
Break it down.